Well, as we sit here in the fog this morning around Kansas City, visibility especially limited up to our north. Be careful out there. We're below a couple of miles in many places, zero, mostly north of I-70. I'm looking at Fox News right now. Their headline, Fog of War. I guess the Iranians are having a very difficult time over the last several hours communicating as Operation Epic Fury continues on. And the breaking news is the United States has taken out Iranian missile launchers. That is from Trey Yingst, who is live in Tel Aviv right now at 6:04 on a Thursday morning on KCMO Talk Radio. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us. So we'll continue to monitor that breaking news as well as we get the show started. But Fox News just alluded to a poll in the top of the hour news that you may have just heard. And they talked about how the president is getting bad marks on the economy. Congress in general is getting bad marks right now. And this is why. No matter what you think of him, someone like an Adam Hamilton, the pastor at Church of the Resurrection, is considering an independent run for U.S. Senate in the state of Kansas. And it's why if there's ever a time that someone like him could pull it off, it would be right now, because people are fed up. As he said on this show a couple of days ago, he will have the resources that he needs to make a run for U.S. Senate statewide in Kansas. And people are they are exhausted. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you that I know what's in the guy's heart. I'm not sitting here telling you that, he's not more liberal on certain issues than he is in other issues. I am not saying that. I'm just saying the idea of an independent, even though I don't think there actually are a lot of independents, the idea of one is going to be very attractive to a lot of people. That's why he's exploring this potential U.S. Senate run. And frankly, the only way it works for someone like Pastor Adam Hamilton is if he does it as an independent and if there is no one on the Democratic side who is a legitimate candidate or even has a D next to their name. That's the only way it works. That's it. And I've heard from many of you, social media, some emails and things like that with your opinions on him in particular. I'm not here to debate that right now. Okay? If he actually ends up running for U.S. Senate, we'll have plenty of time to break down the policy and what he actually believes in and what he stands for. Right now, it's why is somebody who has his background considering doing something like this, and why would they do it as an independent? Because when you read the tea leaves on all of these polls that are starting to come out here the last couple of weeks, the common theme is people are done with the government, they're fed up with Congress, and they really think their politicians on both sides of the aisle are mostly feckless. There was a Gallup poll that dropped here yesterday, and I'm looking through it right now. These findings are from last month, conducted before the U.S. and Israel military strikes in Iran. But look at this. 29% of U.S. adults cited some aspect of government or politics as the country's most important problem. This is similar to the 32% recorded in January and 26% in December. It was triple what people cite as the economic concerns, number 3 on this list. The biggest issue that U.S. adults believe we have in the country is governments or politicians. So magically, you get somebody who's like, I may run as an independent, and that's going to appeal to people. Now, the hard part is, yes, figuring out what they believe in, what they stand for, because typically in this environment, you can see someone who says they're a Republican, you can see someone who says they're a Democrat, and they will give you some idea as to what they believe in and what they stand for. If you say you're an independent, you actually have to do your homework. And if there's one thing we know right now as well, people don't want to do their homework. They want to complain. They want to talk a big game. But when Olathe Schools has a $400 million bond on a mail-in ballot and 3 out of 4 people can't even fill out one question and put it back in their own mailbox, that tells me all I need to know. People want to complain, but they're also very lazy. They don't want to do the legwork. But they like the idea of shaking it up. They like the idea of breaking the status quo. They like the idea of blowing up a two-party system. That's all attractive to them. The question is, what are you actually getting? That's what really matters here. So when I see, the Fox News poll that was just referenced top of the hour, and you see disapproval of congressional Democrats is at 70%. For Republicans, it's at 64%. No one likes either party. I mean, and people in their own party don't like their own party. But that's the world that we are in right now. And that's why, some people are like pushing back on the idea of this guy, Adam Hamilton, having a chance here in Kansas. It would depend on the makeup of whatever the Democrats put out there. That's what it really would rely on and depend on. But there is a world where he has a lane that at least makes it very competitive, if not compellingly interesting. Okay, for those of us who are doing this and those of us who are following this in the weeks and months to come all around Kansas City. And then you have a broader conversation as well that I want to have here, and that is looking back on 2 nights ago on some of these primaries that happened in Arkansas and Texas and North Carolina. Republicans in general do have a problem on their hands. Republicans have remade the party. That is a bigger tent party, more working class. But on top of that, they do not have the voter turnout in non-presidential years that Democrats are going to have. The parties have shifted on this. 20 years ago, the Republicans were the party of voting in school board elections, voting in municipal elections, getting out there and being engaged. It was the Democrats who had a much harder time getting their voters out for non-presidential years. The opposite is now true. A lot of Republicans just stay home. In fact, in the 2024 election, and Guy Benson talked about this when he came here to Kansas City, did a show with us last year, and we had talked about it on the show leading up to that. But in 2024, if the voter turnout was higher, the data makes it clear. Donald Trump would have won by an even bigger margin, which tells you the low propensity voters are breaking Republican. But that sets up a perfect storm for this year. If you're the party of lower propensity voters now, which means the other party has higher propensity voters, and that party's out of power, and that party can't stand Donald Trump just because, TDS, whatever it might be, well, that puts you in a bad spot. And John Carl of ABC News, I think he got Chris Matthews, who talked about getting a tickle up his leg when he was talking about Obama back in 2008. Remember Chris Matthews? He used to kind of talk really fast and scream on TV. He was a weird cat.
He was hardball?
Yes, he was hardball. I saw him at Villanova one time. I'll share that story at some point. But John Carl, ABC News, got a tickle up his leg as he reported this.
Well, we now have the first voting for the midterms, and we are seeing a big Democratic surge. Results in these first primary contests that have Democrats thinking that they are poised to do very well in November. Take the state of North Carolina, the Democratic primary. No drama on either side. The expected candidates won. But look at the overall turnout. A little over 600,000 Republicans voted in the Republican primary. The Democratic primary, more than 800,000. But look at Texas also, the overall turnout. 2.1 million Republicans voted, 2.2 million Democrats. Now, this is something we hadn't seen before. Usually more Republicans vote in the primary than Democrats.
There you go. That is John Carl, ABC News, yesterday, highlighting that in these primaries, you had Democrats outnumber Republicans at the polls. And in Texas, you had competitive primaries on both sides of the aisle, so you can't blame it on that. And in North Carolina, neither side had a competitive primary, so you can't blame it on that. Democrats are just dying to run to the polls right now. They can't wait for November. And when you're the party of low propensity voters or lower propensity voters and your opponents could not be more fired up, my goodness. that is setting up for a very difficult spot right now. And that's why the administration, of course, led by President Trump, if they want to hold the Senate and try to hang on for dear life to the House, I mean, that process has got to be well underway right now. 913-408-7957 is how you join us. Text line, studio line on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We're streaming, as always, on the KCMO Talk Radio app. So local gas prices obviously going up this week. But it's nice to hear somebody say in local media outside of this show, hey, don't freak out. Don't race to the gas pump. We don't think this is permanent. Who said it and where did this person say it? We'll share with you right here on KCMO Talk Radio. Some people who are in nonstop freak out mode want to treat the current gas price situation as like, I wasn't alive for it, but the late 70s gas lines and things like that. And that's just not the case. Okay, now we did wake up on Monday morning and we took a lot of calls and heard from many of you on social media noting that gas prices around Kansas City seem to universally jump up to $2.99 a gallon, seemed like. On both sides of the state line, I should add as well, which was weird.
Even county to county, like Jackson to Cass, it's usually a little bit cheaper in Cass, but no, everybody's at $2.99.
Now, I was looking at Gas Buddy, and I did find a couple of spots around town. Even Overland Park has a couple of places still sitting at about $2.59, which is great news. But it does seem like $2.99 is kind of that universal number right now.
And Gas Buddy may not update sometimes.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I see here.
I was Consumer Reports. I think
I was looking at. There's a Walmart down in Emporia. It says it was updated 1 hour ago.
Okay,
and there's Emporia. A Walmart down there in Emporia that's at $2.39. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll just go to Emporia, head up Brahms today, and I'll fill up at $2.39. There you go.
$2.41 on North Scott in Belton 2 days ago, but I don't know if it's holding.
Okay, all right.
Phillips 66.
Someone's got to call in. Let us know what's going on out there. But Channel 9 had this report, Kansas City drivers paying more at the pump amid Iran tensions. But local experts say, don't panic about prices. And I'm like, isn't this a welcomed reprieve in the local news? To take the approach of, yeah, gas prices are up, but don't freak out. Usually it's the opposite, especially when, you're talking about Trump being in charge, right? If something's going on and this guy's in charge, freak out! You must freak out! You must lose your mind!
I see what you're saying there. I was kind of puzzled for a moment.
And now I'm looking at it, and it's like, okay, let's all just calm down. So Channel 9, KMBC, talks to economics professor. His name is Greg Eibendahl. And here's what Greg had to say. Very reasonable guy on Channel 9 last night.
I think consumers kind of get caught up and, they see these drone attacks and they on the refineries and they think, oh, the oil is going to stop. Well, the market's pretty good about getting things done and getting oil out here. I think you'll see gas prices more back what they were before this thing started, probably within a month or two.
Now, no one can predict what's going to go on with the war. But what you heard there is a guy say, hey, don't lose your mind. Yeah, it's up 30, 40, 50 cents, depending on where you are per gallon. But he believes we'll be back where we were in a month or two. Now, I'm not saying that he's absolutely going to be right and that he may not end up being wrong because we can't predict where all this goes. But it's nice to hear just a calming presence and a reasonable, calm take as it relates to what's going on with this issue, because it's not traditionally what we get. I literally was watching that last night, and I start rewinding it. Or I do the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's got the cigarette in his mouth and he's pointing at the TV screen. And I'm like, wait, what did he just say? And I start rewinding it right in real time because I was like, that's okay. That's a reasonable approach. I like that from this guy. And by the way, I do think he's going to be right as well here, John.
Well, I kind of feel like the Princess Bride scene with the iocane powder and the drink, and they keep switching the drink and trying to out-trick each other about, clearly I would think that you would switch the drink, so you're not going to fool me. I'm still looking for the ulterior motive of, hey, why is it calming me down here? What's this about? Because
I can't find
I'm not happy with the 50-cent gouge. I was telling Mark, maybe over a period of weeks, I might have understood had it gone up that much. But the immediate gouge without an announcement of like, Mr. Tuna on the Mr. Mom movie where they say, hey, we're with you. We're going to raise the prices for a while, but they'll come back down. That's kind of what they're saying, but I didn't get a warning. I just went to the pump Monday, bam.
Exactly right. And a lot of people did. Now, one thing that I heard on this front over the last 24 hours is that the gas prices do not necessarily always reflect what they paid for those gallons of gasoline, but rather what they expect to pay on their future orders. And with oil prices up about 20% over the last 5 days or so, we were at about $65 a barrel on Friday. We're now at $77 a barrel. You look at that and you say, okay, I can somewhat understand it then, if that's actually how the industry does operate. But I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, in a doom and gloom era where that sells, it's nice to see someone take the approach of pump the brakes. We think it's going to be okay. Now, on this front, let's go to overseas, where the Iranian foreign minister is very upset this morning. He posted on X 6 hours ago, Abbas Araghchi. He posted here on social media that the U.S. has perpetrated an atrocity at sea 2,000 miles away from Iran's shores. He's very mad, and he says that the U.S. will bitterly regret striking and sinking an Iranian warship off of Sri Lanka's southern coast. This is what Pete Hegseth was talking about yesterday. He said, it was the first torpedo that we've taken out, or the first ship we've...
water since World War II.
Since World War II. The first ship that we've torpedoed in international waters since World War II. That's a great little Jeopardy factoid for you there. And the Iranian foreign minister is very upset. He says here, mark my words, the U.S. will come to bitterly regret precedent it has set.
That's rich.
Wow. By the way, is he actually putting that up on his X, or is that someone, ghostwriting for him?
Yeah, how'd that happen?
Is he alive? I don't know.
It's an intern.
Oh, gosh. We got the intern for the Iranian foreign minister.
Go ahead, press send. See what happens.
Let's see how this goes. You think that Trump's going to wake up this morning? Because this was posted at like 1 a.m, our time. You think that Trump's going to see that this morning and be like, oh, boy, I'm shaking in my boots. I'm shaking in my boots. No way. In fact, this guy probably doesn't know what he's got coming. I'll just leave it at that. Speaking of the president, he had an update yesterday on data centers, which are having big impacts in Kansas City. Those details are next. So what have we spent the last few days talking about here in Kansas City? This data center that's being proposed over in Independence and did get approved by the city council on Monday. There is a proposal for another big data center down in Spring Hill at 199th and Renner. That will go to the Planning Commission on March 25th. It was scheduled for tonight in Spring Hill, and now it's moving back 3 weeks to March 25th. Well, yesterday, the President of the United States had a big roundtable to discuss electricity costs and the data center explosion that is happening all over the country. So the president, along with some of the big tech companies yesterday, agreed to sign on to the Ratepayer Protection Pledge. The president was there yesterday at a roundtable. It had Google, Microsoft, Meta, Oracle, XAI, OpenAI, and Amazon. They all agreed to the Ratepayer Protection Pledge. The PAC as an agreement to build, bring, or buy new power to support their data centers in order to prevent higher electricity costs for customers. Now, this is just one part of the problem. Of course, we know that there are people in Independence and Spring Hill, in these two latest examples, who are just like, wait, I'm not living in this part of Independence or in this part of Spring Hill to hear the hum of a data center in the background when I'm sitting on my back porch. So there's that angle. There's the electricity costs. The data center in Independence is going to be 2 million square feet, and is going to be the equivalent of 500,000 homes of energy that is being used every single day. Then you also have the incentives arm of this. You have in Independence $6 billion in tax breaks for something that's going to generate 130 jobs. That's like half a dozen small businesses for $6 billion in tax breaks. So it's really three-pronged. It's changing the neighborhood that they're putting them in. It's about, yes, electrical costs, and then it's also about the tax breaks involved. So those three things are part of the equation. But at least yesterday, the president had this roundtable where they discussed one arm of this, and that is the arm that actually affects all of us. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they said, well, why does anybody outside of this little part of Independence care? And it's like, well, it's not just about that little part of Independence. One, you're foregoing tax revenues by giving up to $6 billion in tax breaks. That impacts everybody in Independence. And then also, if the grid in Independence is getting strained by this data center, everyone's costs are going to go up. So it's not just about that little part of Independence. There's a lot more to it than that. So you had different people there talking at the roundtable yesterday. You know, it's classic Trump. He's sitting at the head of the table. He's got all these executives from these big tech companies around the table, and he just kind of points to them and he goes, now you, David, now you, Susie. Oh, Bob, how about you, buddy? What do you have to say today? And they're all like, oh, thank you, Mr. President. We couldn't have done it without your leadership. And, around and around we go. And it's entertaining, if nothing else. But I want to play some of this yesterday from David Sachs. He's a tech mogul. He was there yesterday talking with President Trump about this ratepayer protection pledge, which, if it is legit, and if these tech executives are not just blowing smoke up the president's backside, then this at least stabilizes one arm of the issue that a lot of us around Kansas City have, because these data centers are coming here. All right, they are coming here full stop. They were in California, they were in other parts of the country, but they're like, wait, we can go to Kansas City, much cheaper land, much cheaper rates. We will go do business there. We've got dozens of them around Kansas City, with many more being proposed. Whether it's Platte County, whether it's Independence, Spring Hill, they're popping up all over the place. So this matters to us. Here was David Sachs yesterday, tech mogul, at this roundtable with President Trump.
As I think all of you know here, we have an AI boom going on. We also have a construction boom going on. Just the leading companies in the U.S. are investing $650 billion this year building out this infrastructure. That's a 2% tailwind to GDP. And that is leading to job increases for construction workers and huge wage increases for construction workers like the fellows we got right up here. So this is a very important boom to sustain. And thanks to your leadership, Mr. President, we're doing that. And we're protecting residential ratepayers, making sure that their electricity prices will not go up. That's the combination we need. And I just want to contrast it, if I may, with the approach of Democrats like Bernie Sanders. Their approach is just to ban. They just want to ban the data centers. So they want to stop the economic growth. They want to stop the wage increases for blue collars. They want to stop the construction. They want to just stop progress. That's not the answer. There's a much better answer. You have found it, sir. And I just want to vouch for the fact that in one of our very first meetings, you did say that you wanted to make our AI companies into energy companies. So that was true. And I remember thinking, that's a really good idea. The president knows more about AI than I do. So this is thanks to your leadership, we're here today. And I know this is something that you've been championing for a very long time.
David Sachs, tech mogul, yesterday at this ratepayer protection pledge roundtable the president had on. And what this would require, 5 promises from the tech companies in accordance with the PAC. A commitment to provide or pay for all power generation and electricity needed for AI projects, along with adding electricity generating capacity to the grid through new power plants when possible. Companies also agreed to negotiate separate rate structures with different utilities, investment in local communities for workforce development, and to utilize their infrastructure to provide backup power to local grids when needed. The president saying yesterday, America's largest and richest tech companies will be funding a colossal expansion of U.S. energy. I hope that comes to fruition. I really do. Because I don't want to lose the AI game to China. That's not what I'm wanting to do. But we also have to protect our local communities here in Kansas City, whether it's Spring Hill, Independence, or anywhere else. Let's go to Jim. He is on KCMO Talk Radio out east. What's up, Jim?
Hey, Pete. My son is involved with the electrical, servicing, and he's already said that they've already got a proposed new power plant going in Independence anyway, before this was even being talked about.
So is his insinuation then that he does not believe there would be a major impact on electricity rates in Independence? Because here's the thing.
Correct.
Someone's got to pay for the new power plant, and those costs would traditionally be passed on to the user. So who's picking up the bill?
Well, I don't know who's picking up that bill, but that plan was already in place.
Okay.
For a new petroleum-based power plant for Independence.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's good to hear. But once again, if that was being built in setup for potentially a data center or more data centers, I'm okay with that. If the data center is then helping foot the bill for the build of the power plant, but if that cost just gets passed on to, the regular folks in Independence, well, what are they getting out of it then?
Well, exactly. I don't know who's paying for it. I just know that there is already plans in place to build a power plant in Independence.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good intel there, Jim, and I appreciate that. Good work. Right. I hope that Nebius, the company, the overseas company that is building this data center and getting $6 billion in tax breaks to do it, I hope that is something that Independence is making sure they're footing some of the bill on. Because if it just goes to regular people and it doesn't involve Nebius, then what's the point? Why is that beneficial to, the average citizen? Mike in Kansas City. What's up, Mike?
Yeah, why are we going into these other areas when we've got perfectly good areas that are industrial, like the East Bottoms, which is right near a power plant, and we can use those areas to put these new facilities in? Why are we going out to Independence or Spring Hill or what's the other one, Osawatomie, all these different places? It seems to me we already got the infrastructure, we got everything all available. Why are we having to go in other areas and destroy other areas? The West Bottom, East Bottom, and the West Bottoms are both zoned industrial. There's very few people live there. Those areas are ready for these types of things. And I wish you'd ask when you get the mayor on there, why isn't there an effort to bring some of these places to areas that we have in the city that are ready for them?
I will ask him. Mike, it's a great point. I will ask him. He's going to be on the show at 7:30 this morning, Mayor Lucas. I will bring that up because that's a fair thing to ask. I don't know. There's 30 of these data centers scattered around Kansas City. I don't know what's in the East Bottoms right now. Maybe there are some there. Maybe there aren't. I don't know. I don't know if you obviously have, land issues. It floods a lot down there. So is that a problem? I don't know. But I'll ask the mayor because that's a good point. You've got these industrial areas already. Many of them have room to grow. They have not kept up. Why not utilize them? They're sadly, in too many cases, eyesores anyway. So what's the big deal? But I'll bring that up to the mayor because that's a very good question. And I'd be curious to know if the mayor, who admits he's got a problem with these data centers, he knows that neighborhoods are not loving these things. We've got 30 of them around Kansas City, and the cost of electricity has been getting passed on to, the residential user. Is that something that maybe he's a fan of, what President Trump did yesterday with this ratepayer protection pledge? Some breaking news on Operation Epic Fury. Israel reporting it has just intercepted missiles over Tel Aviv from Iran. So that breaking news, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Tel Aviv. And that is the breaking news that we are monitoring here for you as we hit 7:04 on a Thursday morning on KCMO. Mayor Lucas will join us in a half hour at 7:30. And Sam Graves, Missouri congressman, will be here 1 hour from now as he continues to try to right the wrongs of the last administration on CDLs going to people who have no business driving these big rigs all over, not just Missouri and Kansas, but, American interstates around the country. So Sam Graves 1 hour from now on 95.7 FM. We've got those Jason Aldean tickets at 8:45, and that is also when we will do our Ask Mundo Anything segment. So Lou Holtz, a legendary college football coach, Hall of Famer, elected back in 2008, died yesterday at the age of 89. And while you've heard college football coaches do their rah-rah speeches, Lou Holtz was in many ways a first of his kind in the way that he blended, yes, an amazing career with inspirational speeches, along with fighting for a cause that he had great belief in. And that was his passion for the pro-life movement in this country. And he did it at a time when it wasn't really popular to do. Not that it's ever been, sadly, super popular in mainstream American culture to be pro-life, but Lou Holtz didn't care. Lou Holtz fought for that. Lou Holtz believed in it. And Lou Holtz did not let his success, his television career after he was a coach, or anything else slow him down from being a real advocate for that mission as a pro-lifer. And good for him on that front. But he also was somebody who was able to inspire you in a way that was relatable. Not the guy that's going to be fire and brimstone and just light it up. I mean, I say this as someone who really doesn't like Notre Dame. I just don't. I admit it, I don't. I like to watch Notre Dame football lose. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's one of my great joys in sports is to watch Notre Dame and the New York Yankees lose. Those are probably 1 and 2 on my list. I had my college roommate who's, still one of my best friends. He's a diehard Notre Dame football fan. And at Villanova, he would watch Notre Dame every Saturday. It was back in the Brady Quinn era. And they, just like always with Notre Dame, outside of the last couple of years, they were always overhyped, top 10 preseason. Before you know it, they're 8-4 and losing games they should have never lost, right? So I would watch him blow gaskets every Saturday, and I secretly didn't mind it. As much as I love him to death, I just Notre Dame football I just can't stand him. But that's not what this is about. It's about Lou Holtz and the larger-than-life figure that he was. And I stumbled upon this clip last night of Lou Holtz, and I thought, boy, do we need more of this in this country right now.
But most important thing, we're going to hold people accountable for the choices they make. The difference between athletes today and 50 years ago, today everybody wants to talk about their rights and their privileges. 50 years ago, people talked about their obligation and responsibilities. And I'm one of these people that firmly believe you join a spouse, you join a team, you join a business. You have obligations to other people. If you want to fail, you have the right to fail. You do not have the right to cause other people to fail because you don't do everything to the very best of your ability.
How good is that from Lou Holtz? We've got to hold people accountable. This is the line that stood out to me. Today, everybody wants to talk about their rights and their privileges. 50 years ago, people talked about their obligation and their responsibility. Think about the mindset shift. And he's spot on with that analysis, the mindset shift from, and he's using a blanket 50 years ago versus today. I just think it's something we need to talk about bringing back. What is your obligation and what is your responsibility? To your spouse, to your kids, to your family in general? What is your obligation to your employer? What is your responsibility to those people in your community? Whether it's at church, in your neighborhood, it doesn't much matter. What is your obligation and what is your responsibility? If we viewed the world, if we woke up every day and said, and looked at it through the lens of what is our obligation and what is our responsibility, boy, we would drop that victim card real fast. Real fast. Instead, it's, what about my rights? What about my privileges? No. Lou Holtz had it exactly right. And that clip comes from a sit-down he did with the Wall Street Journal years ago. I mean, this clip's like almost 20 years old. And if only we could see into the future as to how much worse it's gotten since then, John. Oh, my goodness, Lou Holtz. I mean, he was seeing into the future with clips like that.
Lou Holtz in a DEI video. Two terms that will never be used in the same sentence. We get subjected to crap like this, and it's like, just come to work and leave your stuff. You're here to work.
I know,
Leave
man.
the rest of the crap there.
I know. Exactly.
I mean, if we have to do it and say no Chiefs, no Raiders jerseys, fine. Let's just check it at the door and get to work.
Oh, that's so good. It's so good. I've always thought about that stuff, too. It's like, if you think that someone's that big of a problem, don't hire them.
Touche.
If you think you got someone who's got all these issues, don't bring them into the workplace. But then Lou Holtz says here, if you want to fail, you have the right to fail, which is true. It's America. If you want to be lazy and not maximize your God-given talents, that is your prerogative. I'm not going to stop you. If I cared about you, if you were a friend or a family member and I loved you, I'd try to get you to use those God-given abilities to the best of your ability. But he then says here, you do not have the right to cause other people to fail because you do not do everything to the very best of your ability. Now, obviously, that applies directly towards, being on a football team. Don't let your teammates down is kind of what he's saying. But it applies to the real world. It applies to walking into work every day. I don't want to let John and Mark down. They'll be disappointed in me. I wouldn't want to do that to these guys. Come on now. Same thing with your marriage. Same thing with your kids. You don't have the right to cause other people to fail. If you don't put everything in to that marriage, to the parenting of your children, well, guess what? You've let them down too. And that ties back to obligation and responsibility. And we are losing that every single day in a culture of victimhood. And it's frankly only getting worse. It's largely across the political spectrum. Trust me, you can find it wherever you want to when it comes to people playing the victim card. And if there's one clip of Lou Holtz that I want to make sure everybody has, I'm going to share this here on my X account at Pete Mundo. You can see it there. But you want to fire somebody up this morning, get into the office, you want to play that for the team this morning, that clip from Lou Holtz, you send an e-blast out to whoever you want to send it to with that Lou Holtz clip, you won't go wrong, man. You're going to inspire somebody today. I promise you that much. 913-408-7957 is the text line and the studio line on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Some of you want to remember Lou Holtz as the Arkansas head coach. Come on.
Yeah, I do.
I know. But he's always going to be forever tied to Notre Dame and that 1988 national championship, whether you like it or not.
Well, I looked to see when it was, and I realized it was back in the 70s, but he coached so many places. I'm like, whoa, William and Mary? Look at this. What was it, South Carolina?
Yes.
Right? So a whole bunch of places.
Minnesota, South Carolina.
The Gophers, eh?
NC State. He was at all of them.
Yeah.
He became the first coach to take 6 teams to a bowl game. That's pretty amazing stuff. And I
wonder if he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see that ever again. And the reason I say that is because being a head coach right now in college football, it is grinding these guys into the ground. You will see, I believe, more coaches retire before 60 than ever before. Typically, these guys were lifers, right? You're a college football coach, you're a lifer. You don't know what else to do with yourself. But first off, they're all making, anywhere from $5 to $15 million a year. The job is 24/7, 365, not like the old days where it's like, we got a little spring ball, we got some summer camp, we're going to coach September to early December, and then we're done. If you last, the entire season's almost 6 months now. It's crazy. You got the craziness of the transfer portal. You got to pay these guys. It's just different. It burns you out. We will not see somebody do it as successfully at as many places as Lou Holtz. I just don't think we're going to see it. 913-408-7957. Let's fit in Sarah in Raymore. Hey, Sarah, good morning.
Hi, Pete. I was just listening to what you were saying, and one of the things that I wanted to mention was an amazing story. It happened last week. And this lady at my job, she put in her 2 weeks. Her last day was on a Wednesday, and she had a presentation that she was giving to our women's group, and she was supposed to do it with her coworker, and she could have easily left that day on her last day, not followed through, and done the presentation and left the coworker to do it by herself. She ended up staying throughout the whole day when she didn't have to, just so she didn't leave that person hanging. And she goes, I would never do that. I would never leave you hanging to present this on your own. And I just thought that was a really classy way to go out. and I was sorry to see her go. It was really sad, but she's like, the people above everything, and I'm just not going to leave you hanging. And I think that's what Lou Holtz was all about, just being a team.
Yep, and we're losing it, Sarah. We're losing it, but that's an excellent point and a great example. Thanks for sharing it. You're right. Because we are more isolated than ever before, we don't feel like we have that loyalty to other people in the workplace, on teams. We're losing it. And, social media, obviously, our phones hurt that. COVID really impacted that. People don't want to be around other people. And that's when I think we're actually at our best. And Lou Holtz, in many ways, epitomized that. One thing I do agree with the mayor on, he alluded to it there at the end, the women's Big 12 basketball tournament should go back to Municipal Auditorium next week. I mean, it is a quiet crowd at T-Mobile. It doesn't look great. They've got a curtain off the upstairs, and even then it doesn't look good. If they had it at Municipal like they used to do until the last couple of years, you'd have a lot of people bouncing back and forth between the men's games and the women's games the same week. How many people can afford to be like, I'm going to go watch my women's team this week, stay in Kansas City, and then come back next week to watch the men? It's just that there's not many people that can do that unless you're retired or, I don't know, don't have kids, or even then you got a job, right? Can't take 2 weeks off. So the Big 12, I get what they were trying to do. They were like, hey, we want the women to have the same amenities at T-Mobile. Okay, but they've got a fraction of the audience, so what's it really worth? Municipal, I know it's kind of run down, but still, it's got massive history. We've had Final Fours there, the whole thing. So I don't get it. I think the Big 12 screwed this up. Now they do this gimmicky, let's have a light-up court, a glass light-up LED court. And it's like no one's going to look at the glass light-up court. No one. The audience looks like it's about the same as it was the last couple of years.
I think the auditorium's in pretty good shape, actually. It's kind of the Art Nouveau thing, and so it doesn't look modern at all, but I kind of like that personally.
I agree.
Great ambience in the arena where the basketball is.
I agree. I think more from a locker room perspective, I would imagine
touche,
it's pretty run down for the players.
Restroom at the music hall is a bit of a
yes.
CF.
Yes, it is. But here's the thing. I'd rather play in front of a bigger audience than be like, at least I've got a nice locker to walk to with 7 people watching me. I'm just saying. That's where I think the Big 12 is totally missing the boat here on this. And I will say, though, they've got some hoops coming up in a couple of weeks there. 88th NAIA men's basketball tournament will be at Municipal starting Thursday, March 19th. The problem for them is that's the same day as the day of the first round of the NCAA tournament. That's a tough spot for them. Really tough spot. But, I'd like to get more basketball in Municipal. I think that'd be pretty cool. Is there a worse trait than somebody who sits on an airplane and watches their iPad without headphones? Can you think of somebody who is more obnoxious than sitting there and watching a show or listening to music or watching a movie on their phone or on their iPad or their tablet or their laptop and does not have a pair of headphones plugged in? It is one of my great pet peeves.
Yes, that same person, but they also have their shoes off
yes.
and kicked up on your seat.
Yes. And they lean their seat back at a 45-degree angle, right? That is the worst of the worst. But I actually think the shoe guy or the lack of shoe guy is less offensive than the I'm going to listen to my movie while everybody else around me has to hear it. The guy who breaks off the shoes, if you don't have smelly feet, I'm not bothered by it. I don't like it. I don't want to look at your toes. But if you just go the sock route and your feet don't smell and I don't notice, I'm kind of like out of sight, out of mind. You can't be out of sight, out of mind when you take your headphones out and watch a show, a movie, or listen to music. John, you can't do it.
I don't fly much, but I do question the intelligence of the type of people you complain about. Because if I'm traveling, I want to hear my show. I don't want to hear you bozos, so I would have headphones on. For me, don't care about you guys. Right?
See, I don't think it's an intelligence thing. I just think it's a me, arrogance type of thing. I think that's what it is.
I don't know how bright you are when you sit there and want to compete with all the noise to try to hear something, though, at the same time, right? There's a lot of chaos and pandemonium going on. At least during the boarding part.
That's true.
As the flight goes, I suppose that's another thing.
So here's the story. United Airlines has updated its passenger policy to address a common in-flight complaint about travelers who play audio or video without headphones. The airline revised its contract of carriage February 27th to clarify that passengers are now required to use headphones when listening to content on board. United has confirmed this report that first came from CBS News yesterday. The airline saying in a statement, "We've always encouraged customers to use headphones when listening to audio content, and our Wi-Fi rules already remind customers to use headphones. With the expansion of Starlink, thank you, Elon Musk, once again, it seemed like a good time to make that even clearer by adding it to the contract." The change appears under the airline's refusal of transport section, which outlines circumstances under which United may deny boarding or remove a passenger from a flight. Let's see how that goes. If you are arrogant and selfish enough to be somebody who listens to your audio content without headphones, and then you get asked to put in headphones, and then you refuse, and then you get asked to get off the flight, oh boy, just wait till that video goes viral. And just, shoot it right into my veins, man. That is going to be the video that I'm just going to watch on loop all day, every day. When I need to pick me up, I'm watching the first guy or gal, because it could be either one. I don't want to make any assumptions here, but I actually could see the first one being a female. I could see it. You see some crazy stuff out there, and I could see it happening where someone's like throwing a fit. They won't put in the headphones, and then they get booted off the plane, and they're getting carried off the plane by the police. That'll be quite a scene.
Reminds me of an old school field trip, right? If you say to the guy next to you, hey, could you turn that down? No, I have rights. Then you need to instigate 99 bottles of beer on the wall with your fellow passengers around.
Yes.
We'll take one down and pass it around. 98 bottles. We'll keep going.
Keep it going, baby. So United's the first major airline to formally include headphone use in its legally binding passenger agreement, though other carriers encourage similar etiquette on board. But no one has required it until United. I don't have a lot of United flights to where I go and where we fly to see family and whatnot, so I haven't flown United in probably 4 or 5 years. But I may have to figure out a way to get on there just to experience this. All right, and if I get lucky enough to see a guy or gal get kicked off the plane because of this policy, I am going so viral with that video. I'm taking that video to the moon, man. That'll be my most watched video. The amount of news we've done here in Kansas City, this will top every single one of those videos, and I will be here for it, man. I just can't wait. I'm going to eat that up, man, all day, every day. Unbelievable. 913-408-7957 is how you join us on KCMO Talk Radio. Today, I see the President of the United States has the Major League Soccer champions coming in for a visit. How about that? That should be interesting. Have the women's hockey team, have they been there? They haven't been to the White House yet, have they? I haven't seen them take a visit. I know it's only been a week and a half or 2 weeks or whatever, but they got to get there as well because he took care of the guys. They got all their Big Macs and double cheeseburgers from McDonald's. Now we got to get the women there, too. Because
would we had more women in college, or would there have been more college athletes on the women's team than
yes.
the men's, maybe?
Bunch of women's athletes,
yeah.
Yes. So they have not probably gone because they're in school. So maybe they'll go this summer.
I wonder if Messi will be there because Inter Miami won last year, so maybe go there before he comes to Kansas City.
I was going to say he's going to be here for his base camp, right, for the World Cup. All right.
They're staying down on the riverfront, apparently.
Is that where they're staying?
Yeah, at my CPKC Stadium.
Okay. Trump will be like, enjoy your time in Kansas. You'll have a great time in Kansas. Enjoy it. Remember that? He did that after the Super Bowl, when we won the first Super Bowl. He said, congratulations to the Chiefs, and he had a big map of the state of Kansas. I got to give him a hard time for that one. Come on. I mean, we all have to do it. At least now, starting in 2031, he'll at least be correct with the stadium being on that side of state line.
Yeah, he'll say he was ahead of it.
Yeah. That's exactly what
Such a nice man.
Sir, you were right.
Yeah. Always predicting the future, that guy, Donald. That's so true, man. That is so true. Unbelievable. All right. Well, we've got still a lot to get to here on KCMO Talk Radio. People are wondering on the text line, Mark, what the odds of that happening are on FanDuel, if you've seen any odds for the president claiming credit for the Chiefs ultimately moving to Kansas.
I mean, it's 50-50 right now.
Okay.
So -110, I guess.
Okay, there you go. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice.